Welcome to 10,000 Miles. Today's episode features Bruce Schulz. I met Bruce 18 years ago as he opened the Boardroom for Men's Salon and grew that into just an amazing, amazing company with 30-some-odd locations over the subsequent years. Bruce is retired now, but he's got a lot of insights into being an entrepreneur, finding success, being all in, doubling and tripling down, and never, ever quitting. He's got a lot of other things going on. You'll hear about some other business he's in. Becklin Wines is one of them. But he's just a real easy guy to talk to, a great guy with a lot of great vision and grit. So let's dive in to Bruce Schulz. Bruce, welcome to 10,000 Miles. How are you today?
Great, Vic. It's great to be here, and thanks for the invite.
I super appreciate it. We've known each other quite a long time now, and I'm more excited than you might anticipate because, we've met in social circles through the kids and had a little glass of wine here and there and huddled up cheerleading for the South Lake Carroll Dragons. But I know a little bit about you, but I didn't get to really get the full depth of Bruce. What I know I like very much, which is why I asked you to come on the show. So, hey, before we get started, I can't help but notice you got a couple of bottles of wine behind you. And it's customary to do a toast or talk about our favorite alcohol. So, what do you got going on back there?
Yeah, I do. And you mentioned the toast. I'm actually not drinking this week. We've been on the road quite a bit, so I'm taking a dry week here. But I did want to share what I'm normally drinking. And this is a wine label, another new venture I got involved in. It's called Becklin Cellars. Me and a few guys here from town that love wine, had some contacts in the wine industry. And it's made by Mike Smith, one of the top 5 winemakers in Napa.
Cool.
So he's got over 40 100-point wines. This wine's great wine, great value. You can buy it direct at BecklinCellars.com. And we only sell direct. We're making 5 barrels this year.
Okay.
And so we're going to ramp up. So it's fairly small production. I think we'll probably start averaging about 15 barrels a year, but we're selling it mainly direct to consumers and then through a few other smaller channels. But it's fantastic wine. We just got rated from a winemaker. His name's slipping me, but this is a big guy out there that publishes a book as the 43rd best wine under $125.
Oh, wow. I was about to ask, what's the price point and what types of wine is it?
Yeah. So we have 3. This is our kind of basic Napa Cab, and it's $95. So that's the one that ranked. And then we have a reserve. Our reserve here is about $160.
Okay.
And then we have another one, $160 or $130, I can't remember. And then this is called Lions and Tigers. So you can see a picture of a tiger and a lion on it. If you look at it real close.
Can see it. Nice label.
But that's about $145.
Okay. What type are they? Cabs? You said a cab, a blend?
Yeah, they're all Napa Cabs.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic.
Just from different vineyards. And we kind of third party everything. The winemaker, Mike Smith, great guy. Some guys on our team have known him 20 plus years. But he sources our grape, makes the wine. We have a person that does the crush, that does the bottling, that holds the inventory, that ships it. So we don't own any grapes, we just buy them. So.
Well, I'll give you a virtual toast. And I chose a little something different today, only because I just ate something that kind of upset my stomach about an hour ago. And the great stomach settler is Sambuca.
Yeah.
And so I just got a little sip here. Cheers to you, and cheers to the wine venture. I didn't know you were doing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Always got to be doing something.
I hear you. So we met, when the kids were little, and I knew about your corporate venture and about your entrepreneurial bug, and you building a very cool brand and business over the period of time since we've met. Why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself to the audience and tell people who you are and what you're up to?
Sure. Hi, Bruce Schultz, as he introduced. Again, yeah, probably known Vic. It's got to be, 18 years now because our daughters are 28. So probably in middle school was where we first crossed paths. Had a corporate career, started with Deloitte out of school, spent 7 years with them. Highlights of there was spent 3 years over in Brussels working. So got like an extended of our travel bug. We had our first daughter, Kelly, over there. Back up, we've been married to Heather, who I met her in college at University of Delaware. We've been married 36 years, have three
Congrats.
Thank you. Kelly, our oldest, was born over in Belgium. We came back with Deloitte, was with Deloitte here in Dallas. And then I joined Sabre, a travel technology company, and was doing M&A, corporate development with them for a while. And then I moved into business development and business strategy, running one of their startups. And then was, focusing on our Asia business after the .com. I was running one of our websites from a business development strategy perspective.
Okay.
The .com happened, so I went over and kind of was running our Asia business. We had 6 joint ventures over there and was growing those. And the highlights of going through Sabre was I had some really good mentors there that I'd meet with probably monthly or every 2 months as they started to move up and we all started getting busy. But one of the things that they guided me was, hey, be out of the corporate world before you're 40.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And
Okay.
and coming up, we had businesses. I had businesses as a kid. Heather and I have had businesses. She's got a very entrepreneurial mindset as well. So when we came back from Brussels, we opened up our first business together, which was an art and frame gallery and grew that pretty well. But what we realized on that, and kind of if you think back about some of the books that might be influential, Rich Dad Poor Dad and his 4 quadrants of the businesses and everything, and what is a business and what is a job. That was, and a business is something you can stand away from, you can stand back from, and it will still continue to grow and run. We did not have a business. We had a kind of a job on top of the jobs that we were working during the day.
Very, very common.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Because I'm a little fascinated by it. When you got that advice, be out of the corporate world by the time you were 40. 1, how old were you when you first heard that? And 2, what did you make of it at the time?
I probably started hearing it when I was 35.
Okay.
Or 35 or a little bit younger. I took it to heart because I wanted to be out of the corporate world too, and we were doing stuff on the side as well. But at that time, if you think back, when I came out of school and I was with Deloitte. Deloitte was a great training ground, would recommend it for anybody. Great colleagues. But we would every year kind of let go about a third of the people, and then we would rehire. That was back in the day when that kind of stuff was done. And then when I was at Sabre, there was also quite a bit of downsizing. And what you would see is people were very successful in the corporate world, and they move up and they start to make some money, but then the focus of the business changes and the long blade of grass comes along and gets cut. So there just wasn't the stability. And I think if you're confident in your skill set and you are willing to take some risk, then running a business on your own is the way to go. It's also just I'm a pretty avid reader. I like a lot of business books and general economic books and just how things work. And came to the conclusion that the only way to create real wealth was with your own business as well.
Yeah.
It's not the only way, but it's probably the easiest way if you can persevere.
Yeah, I'm a late comer to the entrepreneurial side. I did not jump on the entrepreneurial side until I turned 52, 53.
Yeah.
But it took an event. Like I had a great event through an M&A deal, and that just set me up to say, hey, I'm not going back to work for the man anymore. And my only regret in doing it at that age is that I didn't do it at 40. Yeah. Because whoever gave you that advice, whether that be a person or just a bit of corporate guidance, if anybody takes anything out of these first 8 minutes here, I mean, that's the nugget right there, because the independence that gets created through working for yourself, but being informed and being smart and taking risk and and putting it all out there. I mean, that's really truly where the independence comes from.
Yeah. And the good thing now is like 52 is the new 35.
Yeah.
New 40.
Keep telling yourself that. That's what I keep telling myself for
Yeah,
sure.
I just think we're like just much better shape and opportunity available and health wise than what our parents were at our age, and
You're spot on.
And just
You're
that we can keep going, and you can keep going with your own ventures, with your own side hustles, whatever it is longer. It just doesn't take you. You don't have to be employed by somebody to keep growing your nest egg and taking advantage of your skills. And and you can do a lot of stuff part-time. I mean, it's full-time, but you can do it anywhere you go. I mean, you can travel and get it done. So it's just, there's so many more opportunities. Just amazing how many ways there is to make money. So, with at that point in Sabre, it was a great job. So just kind of finish out what I was doing there. Then I was running in Asia Pacific, and then I came back. They had deregulated the industry. If you know what Sabre does, Sabre aggregates all the airport hotel content, right? Pumps it in.
I know some executives there. We share a common connection there.
Yeah. So at that point, they had deregulated the industry. So what was like the best business model in the world, where Sabre just sent all the airlines a price increase every year, we had to go and negotiate and strike a deal for the content. They no longer were required to give us all their content or at any certain price. So I was on the team that went and negotiated. I had airlines for half of North America, Canada, and Mexico.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very fun, interesting time. But
it's a training ground too,
Yeah, it was good. But at that time, while I was doing that, we also, Heather and I, our youngest, so Parker was 3 at the time, and we thought, now's probably a good time to start another business, because we had sold the art and frame gallery when Lauren was about 1. There was a while where Lauren was born, and Heather would take her to work and put her under the counter in a little crib, and I went there and we built a room for her to sleep in and stuff in the back and everything. But decided that just really wasn't scalable, and we were looking around at opportunities, and we were both looking at franchising, at buying stuff, and maybe starting something. And we were flying up to see my parents December of 2003. Okay. And we were non-revving on American because I was with Sabre at the time. So we were scattered, the 3 kids all across the plane.
Okay.
And, there was an American Way magazine, if you remember that. It had an article on metrosexual men and like men that take care of themselves. And in the back was a little blurb on a barbershop up in DC, and Heather passed it up. Hey, what do you think of opening up something like this? And, we had been in South Lake 2 years by then. Okay. And we're just looking for something. So we came back, spent about a month putting together the business model, wanted to get a name, the Boardroom. We looked at it, and what we liked about it was the fundamentals were super strong, right? You're building the business on thousands of clients, not just one. The guy wants to get into a routine where he gets his hair cut. It's not really something you want to go and shop around every 2 weeks. You want to be on the road with regards to that. So it's a very reoccurring revenue stream. Yeah. And most of it at the time was mom and pop business and much more commodity based. So we said, how can we make this an experience? So we really focused on making it a high-end experience for the client and a better place to work for the team. So we came up with the name Boardroom to be something extendable beyond us. That we could grow. Because if said, hey, if we want to do this, we'd like to make it a nationwide brand. So we couldn't name it, Bruce's
South Lake Boardroom.
Well, you had to give it a name that could grow, a name that was somewhat aspirational. If you remember when you're young and you got to go to the Boardroom the first time, it was a pretty cool event, right? You look forward to going there because it meant you were in on something big. You're becoming.
I was 36 years old when I stepped into the very first Boardroom, and it was at an old bank. When I say old, I mean it was just a bank that'd been around a while in New York. Yeah. And the pomp and circumstance of the Boardroom was so old school that when I took a seat, the entire table had brass plates with brass tacks hammered into the Boardroom table with the board member's name for their seat. And my seat said guest. But It was a pivotal moment in my career, Bruce, because as you said, like the feeling you got, I was 36. I was presenting on the state of the state technology at our mortgage division. So I ran the technology for the mortgage company that the bank owned. I was also head of some committee that went back and forth. I forget what the name of the committee was, but we were trading licks and sharing ideas, and they really liked what we were doing. When I sat there, I was very intimidated, and all of a sudden it was like a breeze came through the room, and I completely calmed down. And I said, I'm the youngest person in this room by probably 15 years.
Yeah.
And in 3 minutes, they're going to want to know how I'm doing and what I think about the ongoing strategy. And I just said, it happened. I said, I belong here.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those moments where I went from being intimidated to confident, not arrogant, but just confident. I'm like, hey, there's a reason I'm here. There's a reason I was invited. Everything has led up to this. Just be yourself. And it was in there. And the boardroom, your place, you've done a fantastic job of creating that atmosphere inside of your design and the fit out that you've done. Why don't you tell people about it a little bit?
Sure. And we got a lot of our inspiration. So we did that. So we had lived in Brussels for 3 years. We traveled around, spent a lot of time in London. And London, there's a lot of old clubs, to go in and read a lot of books. So we came back, and what the idea was to have it a very relaxing, masculine, inviting environment. So it was wood paneling with a pool table, chessboard, very comfortable chairs, very comfortable barber chairs, a nice front desk. We always had a team member at the front to welcome the client, always standing up to greet the client at eye level, welcome him in. And also so then the team could focus 100% on the client, because really what we wanted to deliver was the ultimate relaxed grooming experience. What our mission was to help men relax, look great, and feel confident. We were selling confidence. We weren't selling a haircut. A haircut was just part of it that helped deliver that confidence and that relaxation. A lot of our marketing was around the place where men get ready, things like that. So we really focused on building the best teams. With the teams, it was a very commission-based industry at that time. Nobody had a but we wanted to build teams and not build individuals, so to speak, so that everybody could come in. So we offered, an hourly based pay. We had health insurance back then because most of our team base was single moms.
Okay.
A lot of them. And, in talking to them, they were looking for stability, and a commission model isn't always stable. So we viewed, hey, okay, we'll give you stability of this compensation package with benefits. We'll have a front desk that'll take care of all the interaction, being the quarterback. So, and we'll take care of making sure that awesome environment is there, that the lights are paid, that the paycheck hits every week, the tips are there.
Yeah.
And you can just focus on giving that client an outstanding experience. And our metrics were all around client retention, making sure both new and existing. That was our main metrics, and it was up on all the time. Just to know that's really what matters. And then we gave awards based on teamwork, like people that make the work environment better. So one of our things was we only hire people that make the work environment better, and everybody has to make the work environment better.
Okay.
A lot of times it's a very drama-filled environment when it's, in that kind of group, but we were able to, give these people a great environment, a purpose, a vision on what we were doing. They liked the story. Hey, we're going to open up multiple stores. We're going to be a nationwide brand. We opened South Lake, and then we're going to open up Dallas in 18 months, and then we're going to open up Allen, and just store after store. It gave them something to talk about the clients with too. And
yeah, they were part of something that was launching.
Yeah, and bring the clients in on the journey too, because a lot of our clients are like you, Vic. They're business guys, and they like to talk to business, and they want to see how businesses are doing. We did have our doubters in the early days, thinking a haircut's going to make it, a barbershop's going to make it, but
listen, from what I hear and what I know, the haircut is just the tool, or sort of the what's the word I'm looking for? Just the thing, but the experience is really what you're selling. right? You walk in, it's, a beautiful panel that's, I've got a picture here that'll be in, people will see it before they actually get into the episode because I've done a nice introduction image for you. And it's one of the most gorgeous men's, salons you could see. It's got a cool vibe and it's a great level of service. But when I moved to South Lake, I think this thing might have only been open a couple of years. And from what I recall you telling me, you started considering in your expansion a franchise model. Did you go down that path? Do you still do it? How did that journey go for you?
Sure. I just want to back up one more thing on the experience. Yeah. With the client, that we really tried to do was we wanted the client to feel like an owner, so he could, walk in, walk out, and come in as often as he wants. So we launched, which was really new to the industry, memberships, and then unlimited memberships. So you'd pay one price and be able to come in as much as you want. So if you're a business guy traveling, you could come in every week, walk in, say hello at the front desk, and then walk out. And you
like the president. The president gets haircut every day, right? So
done. Yeah. So franchising.
That's fantastic.
We did do some franchising. So almost all retail and that type of concept was a franchise business when you look at restaurants, and that's how people grew, especially when you're tight on cash. I mean, so we were 38, 3 kids coming off a corporate job. To get the first store opened, we liquidated our 401k. Okay. And then at that time there was many banks, could have been 50, 100 banks out there. And if you recall, this was 2004 when we opened. The banks were they would wire you $30,000 if you opened up a credit card with them, with like a 6-month grace period. Yeah. And then it would go to a certain rate. So I did 5 of those. So I got $150,000 from 5 different banks. And then for the next 3 years, I was rolling it to other banks just to avoid that high interest rate kicking in to get the first store up and going.
Amazing.
Okay, so we were all in, right? There was no we're going to close and walk away from this store. Yeah. It was there. And then we looked at franchising because cash was tight. So I put the whole book together for franchising and drafted. And I'd done a lot of deals and stuff. So I was pretty good at drafting documents and just putting it in that type of like a legal contract, but more of a, operations manual. So the advantage of that was it turned out to be a great benefit going forward as we grew, because it forced us to processize everything. So we could then replicate that for somebody else. So we were processizing every service, every interaction with the client, the way the team comes up and greets the client when he's in the waiting room, the way the front desk is always standing up, waiting for the client when he comes in, waits till they make eye contact to say hello. Just all those little things that had to be placed and allowed us to grow faster and more effectively when we did it. But we did franchise, and a lot of it was to friends we knew and contacts, bought a few. But then we realized that franchising's really hard to be a business unless you're really big and going to go hard. And when you're small, nobody wants to franchise more than one store because there's no real track record.
Sure.
And the stores were doing so well that for I could make more money off one store that we ran versus 5 franchises. And when you're helping 5 franchisees get a store up at the same time, it's just very time consuming.
It's a drain.
And also just looking at building, how do we build the most equity value? The idea was from the beginning, everything should be built to sell, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, even, we were talking earlier on your business, and you guys are processing it and documenting everything and running it like a real business, not like it's a lifestyle. We approached it the same way. We had a strategy, vision, everything documented. Financials were clean, but we just looked at we can get where we want to go. We had this target of getting up to 3 million of EBITDA. Yeah. Then once you start to get to that number, you can get some good multiples from private equity. So we thought we could get there quicker by doing company. So when we, fast forward, we started in 2004. In 2018, we did do an equity event where we sold 2/3 of our company to a private equity company called Light Bay.
Okay.
Yeah. And at that time, we had probably 34 stores open.
Okay.
And eight or 10 of those were franchises with 3 groups. So
okay. Hey, I don't want to let
this.
this moment go by us real quick, because you said something that I've been hanging on here, and I want to dive into it a little bit. You went all in. Okay. You liquidated your 401k. You got creative around, opening accounts and generating other mechanisms of financing. What were you guys thinking about at that time? And clearly, you and Heather are in lockstep, right?
Yeah.
You've got a great wife, great partner there. Heather is a go-getter as well, and get it done sort of executor. What were you guys talking about? What was the lever that made you decide that this was the thing you were going all in on? Was there any fear? Was there uncertainty? Was it just complete confidence, naivete? Like, what was going on during that time? It's a big move.
Yeah. And it's different sitting here than thinking back there what we were going through. I mean, especially if we sit back and look, okay, you had 3 little kids, you had a job, your parents were like, what the hell are you doing? We were kind of giving up. I'd say I don't think we were school. We just thought it was like the next step. So we thought having our own business was the path we had to go down, and
Okay.
it would take some trade-offs to get there. I think what is, we never thought we were going to fail, or we were never going to let it fail. I mean, we were
Okay.
gonna work it, and work it we did to get it where it was. So, and we had the benefit that I kept my corporate job for another 2 years after the first store opened.
Oh,
So
okay.
we still had some cash flow coming in. We weren't relying on the store to live for 2 years.
Very
And
important.
it allowed us to, yeah, that's very important. So we were allowed to kind of keep living and pay off some debt
Yeah.
from corporate job, in addition to anything the boardroom was generating. We were throwing against that debt until we were able to then build the money. But it took us 2 years, 2.5 years to get the second store open.
Okay.
Just from the cash flow of the first store. And then we started to be able to do it faster. And then after we got the second store open, then we could get loans, get actual real loans from banks, because banks won't loan you money if you need the money. You have to have another source that can pay off that debt.
Yep. This is for sure.
Which is important. So when you're thinking through how to run and finance a business. So it was, I don't recall it being especially scary or especially stressing out about the debt, or that it wasn't going to work. We were just of the view that we're going to make this happen.
There's something about the age you guys were at the time. I think you were at the tail end, and this may be accurate or not, it's just an observation. You were at the tail end of the age where you might not have been thinking about retirement. You might not be thinking about a safety net. You're thinking you had plenty of runway left, no matter what happened. Like
Correct.
There was a lot of runway left. And I think that that's something that comes, through your 20s and into your early to mid 30s, maybe even by the time you're 40, which is, it's a gift, because your head's down. You don't think it's going to fail. You adapt. You do the things that are necessary. And if you're committed to making it successful, you're always sort of moving and changing and adapting to, the needs of that particular business. Now, it just so happens that you had a great model. And so you had something that really could take a hold. You weren't selling, peeled grapefruits on the corner and then hoping there was a resurgence in people liking fresh grapefruits. So, you had something real. You guys believed in it. But when I was much younger, in my 20s, I was in the music business. I owned a recording studio. And when I think about the things I did at that recording studio, I just, I just never thought it was going to fail, ever. I just never thought there wasn't a lever I couldn't pull. There wasn't a way to make it successful. And there wasn't a way for me to sort of come out of it. It wasn't until I got older that some of the cautious nature that comes from my parents, especially my dad, started seeping into me. And I was fortunately able to break back out of it. But, you've got kids, you're thinking about school. In the 30s, they're not really that close to college yet. So you're not worried about that, responsibility and debt. It's an interesting part of the psyche. And the reason I want to dive into this is that it's never the right time. If you're waiting for something to appear and go, now's the right time. Like if you have an idea and you have a business plan and a passion, and you really want that level of freedom and the opportunity to turn from nothing into something and sell a portion or all of your company into the private equity world, you just got to do it. And I'll tell you that I wish I had started when I was 38 like you. Like I said, I started at 53. But to your point about 53 being the new 35, I happened to see a picture of my dad the other day when I got married. He was my age right now. And he looks, either I look 15 years younger than he did, or he looked 15 years older than me. Somewhere in the middle of that lies the truth, but it was just different. Mm-hmm. It's just different, greater access and understanding of trying to keep yourself healthy. And so for folks listening and paying attention here, again, I want to emphasize it's never going to be the absolute perfect time, but you got to believe, you got to take a risk, you got to jump in, you got to get really creative to make the entrepreneurial side of your life. And you got to be informed, you got to find the right mentors, you got to read the right information, you got to surround yourself by people who've been there, done that, and know what to do.
Yeah. I say one is just as far as kind of support groups there. I was in Entrepreneurs Organization, which is for people that have startup businesses, and you have to have at least $1 million of revenue. But it's a great support network for being around people that are running their own business, and a lot of different kinds of businesses, where you exchange ideas. They bring in speakers on different topics, and you get put in a forum where you go through your business. You deep dive on your business, your personal, your health, and everything, and you set goals for everything. But it's things to keep you focused and accountable, right? Accountable on a monthly, weekly, daily basis to hit these goals. Because big believer that kind of, it's not like any one thing that gets you to achieving a goal. It's your daily habits every day. What are you doing every day to accomplish that? And if you're just break everything down to that day and get done what's most important and get it done first, you're much more likely to get where you want to go. But it's interesting you brought up our parents, because I grew up. My parents were kind of at the end of Depression age era kids. Yeah, born in 29 and 31.
My dad's 33.
We grew up extremely frugal, and they didn't want
cautious, likely.
Very, very cautious, very cautious. Yeah. So they were a bit nervous, because then it's like, hey, get a corporate job and just stay and get the, there was still the belief in the, back in those days when we were first coming out about, hey, there's, retirements with corporations and stuff.
Yeah. The gold watch doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah. A lot of that started changing. So, this next generation, the advantage of them is they're learning this whole gig economy and self-reliance, self-resilience, how to be quickly adaptable at a very early age. That can really benefit them, and learning the idea that multiple revenue streams are a great idea. And
absolutely,
and for them, a lot of them, financial freedom isn't the same thing as what it was too. You don't need to have all the stuff. You just need to be able to have enough to do what you want to do.
We do a lot of work in what I will call fractional labor. We do it in convenience. We do it on call centers, et cetera. So there are companies out there that have stood up this infrastructure where they have these giant recruiting machines, and they go out and they attract gig workers. Yeah. And they board them, background checks, the whole 9 yards, and then they class their skill sets. I'm a convenience store worker. I'm a call center agent operator. And there's there's a very wide range of skills. And then they get upskilled and trained for a specific client's needs. And so some of them allow the gig worker to select shifts. And one of the companies called Shift Smart will allow Vic or Bruce to pick a shift. And so maybe they want to work 40 hours, but they want 4-hour shifts. They want 10 shifts a week, and maybe they want it across 5 employers. Okay, so think about what that does. That brings diversification of your income. So if you get fired, or not fired, but if all of a sudden the need isn't there for your service, like you've got resiliency in your income stream. You've got choice for hours. So we're seeing a lot of people come back into this gig economy that just can't show up at 9 and leave at 5. But from 10 to 2, when their kids are in school, whether you be a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, or whatever your situation is, we're finding very highly skilled people going, I'll make $30 an hour, depending on the skill rate or whatever the wage is. It goes from 18 to 60, depending on the job. But people come in and they do that. So yeah, the gig economy is an interesting phenomena. I think the government's going to get their hooks in it at some point, start figuring out what's going on there. But it is interesting. And people are choosing sort of lifestyle and flexibility and freedom. I had a friend call me who said that their kid was maybe not interested in being a careerist. And I said, okay, before we get started, can we agree on what that means? He goes, yeah, it's exactly what I said. But it was not being tethered down to like working maybe as hard as we did. Now, I know you going into working at, you said at Deloitte you were at? Yeah. I know exactly what happened. You were on the meat grinder, for the first few years coming out of school and doing whatever we did. Got friends that worked at Bear, worked at Lehman, worked at, investment banks. That's just part of the gig. You're in the grinder, but people are choosing not to do that. It's pretty amazing. But I will say this, coming full circle, there is no ease of life as an entrepreneur when you're starting up. You're working 100 hours a week for no pay.
Yeah.
This is what it takes to get it launched and get it going. What was it like that for you guys up front? Were you really having to grind and burn and put in the extra hours until you got to that point? What did it look like?
Yeah, we would work a lot because, well, in the first 2 years, having jobs and working that at night and weekends always. But there's always, you were thinking about the business 24/7 on how to make things more efficient, whether it's team issues, whether it's expansion, whether you're talking to a landlord, whether you're talking to a bank. I see the advantage of kind of working all those hours. It's kind of like your title 10,000 steps.
10,000 miles, yeah.
Well, it's like the 10,000 hours,
Yeah, that's where the title came from, by the way.
To get great.
I was inspired by that. Yep.
The advantage of us working really hard when we were young is you got to see a lot of different things pretty quickly. So, because you really, one of the things people get to get is, and I talk to my kids about this, is there's not time to learn everything yourself. So you want to be around people all the time that are working and see what they are doing right. And nobody's going to be exactly who exactly perfect, like exactly the person you think should be the perfect manager. So you want to but everybody has some good you can take. And so you see somebody and you pull good from this person, you pull, hey, I like that trait, I like this, and you kind of make it your own. In developing your business skill set is complete plagiarism about looking around at who does something good. So to think, I got to go through it all myself, there's just not time to do it.
We call that modeling success.
Yes.
Right. Bruce, you might not know, but I after 7 years, I finally released a book on leadership. It's called The Lucky 13.
Yeah.
And it's the definitive core competencies for being and becoming a great leader. I'm going to send you a copy of it. And this entire book is just me watching and learning and making a lot of mistakes along the way and then finding what works and doubling down on it. And also really understanding people. And this has really helped me as a parent too. It's that, you think somebody fits a mold and they have a job and they do something and somehow you identify something really great in that person and just really realize they're maybe in the wrong role, or you're approaching the role differently, and how could they elevate that role if you allowed them to be a little bit more of themselves. And so that's been one of the biggest learning areas, not only for myself, but really sort of empowering other people. So while you take these things and you plagiarize and you build your own skill set and you become this great thing, or the best you can be, you have to be aware of other people's greatness and allow them to sort of rise to their own occasion as well. You're dealing with lots of people through your business, right? You've hundreds and hundreds, right?
Yeah. And the idea, I mean, business really breaks down to every business is the same, and you just are kind of always solving the same problems. Like I kind of find, but it's with our business using people for what they're great at. And stylists are great at interacting with clients and great at, you know, the haircut and the experience, and they really care about the client and want to give them the best deal, the best experience. So you let them focus on that, and you have somebody else focus on some of the administrative side and some of the other things. Asking people to do stuff that's not in their wheelhouse is kind of frustrating for both. But I'd say, you know, one more thing about growing up that I talked to my kids about was, you know, never, and this is something that takes a long time. And if we ever get into it later on about like philosophies, I'm a big Stoic philosophy person, and just really only believe in the stuff, only worry about the stuff that you can control. And the only thing you really can control is your mind and how you react to stuff. I remember when the kids were young and they would, I'll use this word loosely, but like envious of somebody, right? Or this person going on. But I was like, hey, you'll only be that way if you want like their whole life. Like you can't just say, I just want their height or their athletic ability or their ability, you know, to be social, right? Or their intelligence, because, you know, it's not all perfect behind that. And so if you see an aspect that you admire in somebody, figure out how you can like work on that, but never wish you were somebody else. Just be glad who you are, because your unique skills will come around sometime, and they'll be man.
And you might just borrow something and then make it your own, which ultimately happens because, you know, you're never quite as good doing exactly somebody else is doing, other than if you just put your own little twist on it, and then it becomes you, and you do that. I mean, the best example in the universe, and it's even beyond that, is Tony Robbins. I mean, Tony was the greatest study of people and personality and traits and discipline and leadership. And he cited, you know, many great writers, authors, and people before him, ultimately until he figured out sort of how the sausage was made, you know, and started having insights of his own and sort of changing lines and doing those things, and became who he was. Incredibly successful, great thing. Hey, let's go into the philosophies a little bit, you know, because I think this is something maybe that you and I haven't ever talked about, but I will tell you that I know we're gonna share like-minded thoughts on this stuff, because I am, you know, the thing you said about you know, you can't always control everything, control what you can control, but you can control how you deal with it, how you think about it, how you feel about it. And that really is, you know, EQ, right? Managing your emotional state. How important has EQ been in your life, and you know, applied to sort of becoming a successful entrepreneur and business owner? You know, what have you found through that value chain?
Yes, it's been critical for growth, right? Because it's when you first start a business, right? It is a roller coaster, you know, highs and lows, and it's just you have to get yourself. Nothing's too high, nothing's too low, and never take anything personally, because whatever, you know, a great team member quits or something happens or somebody goes off the handle, it's really not intended to you. They're just living their life, and something might be, you know, going on. Customer might be really unhappy. It wasn't that he's really happy with service. Something else happened. So just understanding, hey, this person's just has their own thinking, and, you know, I can choose how I can can react to it, and it's not personal against me. So then controlling it is, your mind is one part, and then the idea of the daily habits and kind of training almost your mind and your body for whatever's going to come. So you're always prepared and ready, and thinking a couple steps ahead. I think the ability to think a couple steps ahead on what possible outcomes might be, and then take responsibility for those couple steps ahead, that you can see how you can influence those to get the outcome you want versus let it just happening to you. I mean, a good example, just a very basic one is, you're waiting for a repairman to come and fix your refrigerator, and you can sit there and wait, or you can call him and check and see where he is and see when he's going to be there and what his ETA, so you can plan around it and not get frustrated and just take kind of control the situation. So just very simple, but if you take responsibility for everything, it makes life quite a bit better.
Sure does. The thing that's happened to me as I've gotten older, and I would say maybe even in the last 5 years, I've taken that and I've come up with something that works for myself, is that often when I'm a very sort of, I don't want to say I'm non-confrontational, because I've certainly been in a good amount of confrontation through my corporate career. I've always had a very easy tone about it. I was never an escalation period. I was never a conflict engager. I always seem to be, being in technology, the recipient of lots of angst and conflict. But I also had a very measured approach. I see colleagues and friends around me over decades of careers always take those things personally. And so as I've gotten older, I really realized that a lot of these things that people do that sort of slips out of what you would think would be the kind of character you'd want, or out of a persona you think is non-professional, I wind up shifting to this great sort of this feeling of empathy versus, persona non grata. Rather than saying, hey, that's not me, that person must be dealing with something. That was my initial thought, was, hey, Bruce is really coming at me, and I'm going to hey, maybe Bruce having a bad day, maybe his dog died, maybe something. I let it go. In the last 5 years, I've had empathy for people more than I've ever had before, because I question, what are they really going through in their life that generates this type of behavior? And it's coming to me, but it's not because of me. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I've gotten really curious about, and I've given a lot of grace to friends, to family members, to professionals, because I recognize that what they're going through, and that stress, it's got to be a burden to carry. And I think if folks, for those who may be listening here, think about that, it's a great relief valve for yourself too. You let yourself off the hook. Yeah. You don't have to take everything personally. You don't have to dig in and sort of psychoanalyze yourself and say, what did I do wrong? Sometimes, it's great to look at yourself and learn from it. Maybe there's a way to improve, but sometimes, man, it's just somebody going through some stuff. And how can you help further? Right? Double down on the help. You have a lot of employees. I'm sure you've seen a lot of that, and you've had to deal with a lot of situations over what's it been, 20 years now, right?
Yeah. 20 years. So I retired in 2021.
But good for you.
At the time, it was 500 employees. Yeah. Okay. So we did the transaction with private equity in end of 18, August 18, and then I retired January 21. So since then, just been enjoying retirement.
Doing the wine.
Doing the wine, doing a lot of investing, operating companies, real estate. We still have a barbershop that we had opened up before. Okay. Have some commercial.
What's the name of the shop?
Brighton Barber Institute. It's over in Hearst.
Oh, it's a learning facility.
Yeah, it's like a school.
Teaching facility. Oh, nice.
Yeah, we also had a study center for a while, Studyology, but we sold the building on that in April of 23. So we closed it down. We just didn't have time to do all this stuff. Okay. They were doing. So we do that. We travel, look for challenges. Still, I like to do a couple challenges every year just to get out of the comfort zone.
What's the next challenge you think?
Well, next challenge is I think I'm going to turn 60 next year. So I think I'm going to do the rim to rim hike in Grand
Okay.
Canyon. But I've done some like unbeatable minds training with like Navy SEALs. It was a year-long program. I took
Okay.
Lowen and Parker on a 7-day survival course in Utah.
Oh, wow. What was that like?
It was good. It was a lot of hiking, very little eating. Very
What
little
did you
eating.
eat?
So it wasn't like a hunting survival course because you can't hunt in any of these national parks. And now in like Utah and stuff, there is no food. It's really dry. So they gave us to eat. They gave us a little bag of oatmeal, dried oatmeal.
Okay.
That you had to carry for your breakfast. A little bag of raisins and peanuts for your lunch, and a bag of some dried beans and dried potatoes that you could carry for your dinners and stuff.
Okay. And you did that for 7 days?
Yeah, 7 days.
How much weight did everybody lose?
It just depends how big you are, but probably about 20. It was good now. I mean,
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
The kids, it was funny because Parker wasn't super into it. And the first night, so the first night we got in and we hiked till late at night, and then the coaches, the guide just said, "Hey, we're gonna camp here," and there was no instruction ever, so we all just wandered off, and me and the 3 kids slept on the side of 2 kids slept on the side of a hill, ended up all spooning to stay warm. and then the next morning we got no food, and we hiked from probably 8 a.m. till 2 a.m.
Wow.
And so Parker was getting pretty beaten up because he's like, I don't need to train for this. But so he wasn't so happy for a while. So I just walked next to him and just listened. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. But then at the end, he was like, that was great.
Really? He
Funny
loved it?
about that trip. Yeah, the kids loved it. They still talk about it. It was, it's one of those level 3 funs where it's fun after you've done it. It's not fun while you're doing it.
I've had plenty of those.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of those where like you think you may die and then you come out on the other side and they're like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we didn't, you didn't shower for a week. And then when it was over, it was just over. So we got in the car and drove home, and we didn't even know that we smelled, right? And then we got home and we're like, hey, we were in Utah. We were going into Park City, and like, let's stop at the grocery store and get some food. And we get out of the car and it starts pouring, like torrential enough. So we got drenched, and then we walk into
smell got activated.
Yes. And we didn't really even know it in there. But then we got in the car after we got all the groceries. We were dying, choking, had to roll down the windows. It was the smelliest thing ever.
You were the most popular people in Park City.
Yeah, it was funny. But
what time of year was that?
It was August. Yeah, August of, I think we did it August 21. Yeah, so it's coming up on 3 years. I do Spartan races. I do.
Okay.
Still train. So are you still doing like CrossFit?
No, I'm not. I'm about to get into another program.
Yeah.
The CrossFit was just grinding me down a little bit, and it's not CrossFit per se. It's me, Bruce.
Yeah.
There was a guy in the gym, 28, 30 years old, chiseled from granite. Yeah. I'm like, I got that. I can do whatever this guy does, and it's like, he does it, he recovers, he comes back and does it tomorrow. And I'm, tweaked and sore for 3 days because at the time I was 50. And so it was a matter of toning down my own mindset and doing that. But I've been really focused on, I don't want, longevity is not it's a term everybody uses, but, functional fitness. Yep. I want to be able to do everything I can do at this age 20 years from now. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to do it well, and I want to be able to move, lots of rotational movement, lateral movements, things alike. So, deadlifting 425 pounds and push pressing 210 pounds from a strict stance doesn't interest me anymore.
Yeah. There was a term that I got from you.
Okay.
And we were talking, it was once when I think you were just starting to migrate away from CrossFit. Mm-hmm. Said you're looking for age appropriate workouts,
Yeah, age appropriate fitness.
Yeah, like a CrossFit. Like we're going to Built for it right now, the old Velocity place.
Okay, what's the name of it now?
built for it right there
Okay.
on the service road north of 114
Yeah, I
between.
know exactly where it is.
Yeah, it's a good workout.
Is it a
It's
good place? What's it like in there?
performance training. It's great setup, but it's all
Really?
performance and it's um, performance and functional. Performance and functional.
I might
We're
have to
not
go
there.
check it out.
Yeah,
I might
yeah.
have
We
to check
we
it out.
go there when we're in town at 8:30. If
Okay.
you want to join us,
Is it class driven?
class driven.
Really? Give me an
hmm
example of what one of those classes looks like.
It's an hour. It can start with journey starts with a slight warm up and then a slight warm up, or you just get into a cardio session to get warmed up. And then they have
Okay.
power block, and then they have 2 strength blocks.
Okay.
Strength blocks always have some functional movement in them too, and the power blocks are all pretty functional. It's they're it's pretty much the new concept the way athletes are being trained. Not
Yeah.
too
Yep.
far
Yep.
off,
Yep. That
the
makes
Tom
sense.
Brady stuff, but it's good. You're not going to get hurt there. There is deadlifts, but it's not crazy. There's none of the snatches and
Yeah.
overhead
That's
stuff
cool.
that get you hurt, but it's pretty good.
Bruce, I wanna jump into a little lightning round. We're gonna
Sure.
come up with like ending 3 or 4 topics here. Maybe we'll do 3 to 5 minutes on each at tops here, but or a minute, depending on
Yeah.
how much it takes. Let's start with topic number 1. People talk about power networking, and this is the way this is gonna go. I'm gonna bring up a topic. I want you to talk about the role of this particular thing in your success. Yes, no, maybe. How important it is? How did you leverage it? How would you suggest somebody take this on? So network.
hmm
Was networking important in your success in building your business?
Yes, I think
Okay.
networking, and it depends on like going to all the networking events. I'm not sure, but getting into a few groups where you can develop relationships with some people that are going in a common direction as you, whether it's fitness, whether it's work, whether it's something like EO, something some business groups. It's great to have a network of people you can count on that they can come to you for advice. You can go to them.
Yep.
It just keeps you on your game more. I think it goes back to what I said before. There's not enough time to learn everything yourself. You're not going to get to meet everybody yourself. That having people that can know people significantly important. To get a warm introduction into a bank, into you know
There you go.
a lawyer, something like that will really help out.
Awesome. Hey, let's talk about failures and comebacks. All right, this is a topic I like to talk about. Um, Embracing failure as a step to success. Is that something you were able to digest early on, or did you have to learn it?
Um, it's definitely learned, and it just depends what you call failure, right? Because it's really never a failure until you quit. So as long as you don't quit on the topic,
Yep.
you haven't failed. And so whether it's from making a sports team and you got to come back the next year, or trying to get a starting position, you don't get it, trying to close a deal and it doesn't happen the first time, um, trying to raise money, it doesn't happen the first time, trying to hire a person, it doesn't happen the first time. Those are just life. So it's a lot. Again, it gets back to
Experience. Yeah.
stoicism. The obstacle is the way. Whatever obstacle you get in your life, that's the way your life is supposed to be. But then you just have to pivot and go through the obstacle is your way. So it's just like, what is the next step? I always like to think of life as, okay, I'm here right now. What is the next best decision I can make today for what I want to become, what I want to achieve? So
Sweet.
I don't look at this failure as just kind of life and the obstacle in
Yeah,
the way.
that's a
Yeah.
great perspective. I love it. I'm going to put 2 things together here. It's going to be routines and effective time management. You touched
Mhm.
on this a little bit earlier where you said, hey, you identify what's most important. You make sure you get that done first. You get it out of the way. But how important to your success has have routines and effective time management been? And then the follow-up question is there anything specific in your routines or your use of anything to accomplish time management that maybe you would suggest other people give a shot at?
Yeah, and my routines have changed quite a bit going through the years. I think the one advantage I've had is I've always been an early riser.
Okay.
And so getting started early, and whether it was going to the gym first or working first, significantly helped to have that quiet block of focus time to get things done.
Yeah.
I'd say it's important to be able to say no to stuff, to understand what is most important. So it's time management isn't necessarily, I mean, it's a big part of, okay, how do I allocate enough time for this, and how do I be as effective in that 15, 25-minute block? Like, there's all kinds of theories. You work 25 minutes, you take 5 off. I don't know. I haven't really dialed in that closely, but I do think it's important to say no to stuff that's not core to what you want to get done.
I love it. That's really, really, really good stuff. Financial literacy. Clearly, you got it through working at Deloitte and sort of being responsible for lines of business and growth and business development. How important was financial literacy to your success?
Significantly. I think if you're going to run a business, you have to understand financials and just understand it works. Like, if you think about like books you read, the Rich Dad Poor Dad must read series, the first 2 or 3 books. Thomas Sowell, you ever heard of Thomas Sowell?
Of course.
The economist. His books, basic economics and stuff like that. Again, basic core readings for people to understand how economics work on both a global and a macro and a micro level, and where you kind of fit in. Being able to have a budget for yourself, have a budget for your business. I talk to my kids a lot is you are a business, so you have to run, Parker Schultz Inc. and keep your financials, keep your net worth statement, keep your things that you're trying to accomplish in line. Because if you're not tracking it, you're not going to perform well in that area. And even if you're a doctor, you're a super creative marketing guy, you're a musician, you have to be able to read financials, or somebody might be ripping you off.
Yeah, no doubt about it. One last topic. It's the one I usually like to end on. It's one of my favorite. I find so many people have found so much success and they're not content. And it's sad when that happens. I see it a lot. Actually, I just talked to somebody who was very, very young. He's already found a lot of success. He's got a lot of tread left on the tires, going to keep going. So even the thought of being content sort of freaks him out a little bit. Super talented guy. How did you balance ambition and contentment? And are you content? I mean, do you feel like you've accomplished what you set out to do? And how did you manage, all your ambition and sort of managing life as it went on?
Yeah. So I think the best way to manage contentment is to want less, right? If you don't want and need a bunch of stuff, you're going to be content. So if you have to get off the treadmill about wanting and needing stuff, because it just brings more discontentment. I think contentment is also a bit of a fluid state. I mean, you're not going to be in that state 24/7. I'll be like, I'm just like super, super content here all the time. If you can get there most of the time, that being happy with your situation and where you are, and really embracing like a simple life. And then simple's relative, right? But it's just really what you can afford and what you want to do. And there's different ways of getting it done. So that is the cleanest way. I still go back and forth. Like, do I want to go back and do something else again?
Yeah.
And so that's why, I'm in this. I'm helping another company too. This is another great idea. I'm going to plug it too.
Yeah, please do.
It's called Brainwash, right? So the company's called Wonderground Coffee. I came across some up in Seattle. Okay. When they were just starting out last year, started by some people from Starbucks. Okay. And they have mushroom infused coffee, and they had a coffee shop up there. But their motto is they have this powder now that tastes great, and you put it in your coffee, your tea, your water, and it gives you the 4 main mushrooms, the adaptogens for your body, what they need for like calmness and clarity and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a tonic. And their model, and the person that developed the flavor for this, Hannah Sue, is the one who developed the Frappuccino flavor for Starbucks. And
Oh,
so their
really?
distribution model is Starbucks model. This is another company that I've invested in.
Do you put that in your coffee on a daily basis?
I do every day.
How do you feel? Do you feel a difference?
I do, but it's not like it's more like a tonic, like every day, it just keeps you, but it's not like a jolt, right? But it's good. But what I love
does it
is
taste like?
got a little bit of like a cocoa powder just added to, just to taste like a little bit of cocoa in your coffee. But they sell it online, wonderground.com. But
Okay.
their goal isn't opening up more stores. They're selling it to tech kitchens, the Googles, Metas, Amazons. They're coming and asking for this in their tech kitchens.
Nice.
So as they're trying to get everybody back in the office, they want to have this reasons to come in, and they also have this in a cold brew too.
Okay.
And so the cold brews in both a can and a cardboard, like
Yeah, like
container.
a premier protein deal.
Yeah. And so they're putting it in there because their employees like to drink coffee, and everybody's into being healthy, and the whole mushroom thing is gigantic in the Gen Z and millennials. And so they're buying millions of it and putting it in there, and then they get to market to these employees, and then these employees go home and buy it online to get the subscription, so they have it at home.
It's amazing. So it's a great business
it's a
model.
great distribution model without having to open up a bunch of stores.
Boy, it sure is.
So,
Hey, I
and
want to
it's
give you an
great.
opportunity to plug the wine again, because you did it early on. If maybe somebody jumped in the middle or toward the end, and I'm going to put the links to all the stuff you're involved in the description of this episode. So give us the story on the wine one more time.
Yeah, so I'll give you the bottle here again so you can see it. It's called Becklin Cellars. This is their reserve wine. The reason why I should buy this wine is it's one of the best winemakers in Napa. Mike Smith makes it. It's a very small production, and it's very value priced right now.
Okay.
I mean, it's $95, which generally in Napa now, wine like this might be $195.
Yeah.
Or more. Most of his other wines are $200 to $350.
Wow.
So, good wine will age well.
Outstanding. Well, I'm going to get online and.
This is a great guy. Yeah, we did a virtual tasting for all our customers last Saturday.
Okay.
Where Mike Smith came on, and he hit a glass of each of this year's vintages, and he tasted them, and he discussed what he was tasting, his thinking in the winemaking, the way he wined, the way he makes it, and then he answered questions. We're going to do that every year. The people loved it.
Where'd you do it?
We did it on Zoom.
Oh, really? That's
so
great.
Everybody could participate because they're buying wine all over the country.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The wine tastings are the new corporate fun thing to do, by the way. So we'll hire a sommelier. Yeah. We'll send a couple of bottles of wine to participants. We'll get on Zoom or Teams or something like that. And the som comes on and brings up maps and shows you where the grape is from and what regions and describes the wine. Wow. They're not $90-$100 bottle of wines. They're much less expensive, but people have a good time. And then after, and that usually lasts an hour, and then people are a little relaxed and a little business chatter happens, but it's a fun time for sure.
Yeah. The issue with Napa wines, they've got so expensive recently, but it's just the cost of doing business in California.
I know. So, it's pretty crazy. And Chris and I went for our anniversary last year to Napa, and we did a bunch of winery tours, and we found this little tiny winemaker, Azur, and Ilan Fayard. I think her husband's a famous French winemaker. They're no longer married, but she got this line and this brand, and she has this beautiful tasting room out in the middle of the woods, and it overlooks the valley. It's absolutely gorgeous. But Bruce, let's just say that when I looked at my bill the next day, I wondered if I bought enough wine for an entire army. So I was like, I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, this wine is great. But the wine there it's fantastic. It is pricey now. I'm gonna get online when we're done here today and get some Becklin. and we'll see.
Well, wine is very experiential, right? It was
Absolutely.
and you have memories of it, and that makes it great. What our tagline is for Becklin Wines is "Buy Friends," because we're a bunch of friends that bought this label, and
Yep.
and it's for friends. So buy friends for friends. That when
Love
you
it.
buy it, this is a wine for drinking with your friends. It's not.
I love it.
You don't buy it just sit and drink by yourself.
Love it. Hey, Bruce, congratulations on all your success. And thank you for taking the hour plus here to let folks peek under the covers a little bit about what you went through. There are a lot of great nuggets in here that I know people will latch onto, from the mindset to the all-in, the acumen, the discovery, the people, the EQ. And I think this episode is going to be valuable to folks. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for doing this. It's really great getting these stories out there for people to see.
Appreciate it.
Learn from others,
Say hi to the family.
Okay.
Have a great
Thanks,
night.
man.